you ever just look around and ask yourself or think like, I'm way too tired for someone whose life is technically fine? Like, okay, bills are paid, right? Social media, persona is on point or like looks like everything's good. Okay, you're showing up for people still, and maybe you're eating vegetables sometimes, and if you're eating them sometimes, you're eating them more than I've been eating them lately. But like you're still fantasizing about disappearing. It's like you close one tab in your life just to open another one. And you rest, but you don't really feel rested. And like somehow we're still functioning because I'm not, I'm talking about myself too, to a point. And this isn't laziness. This doesn't mean that I'm ungrateful for the life that I have. This is just, part of what can come with a late stage burnout. Okay. And I don't necessarily want to say that I am burned out, but I'm just aware of how much life has been lifing just in general for like everybody, but then also like for me too, like up until this point. And I would say, the true burnout for me was more so like 2021, in 2020, and maybe even like a little bit of 2023, but there's still like traces of it that kind of show up today. And really in this video, I want to talk about like the 6 or so signs, 6, maybe 7 signs that you're in like your late stage burnout era, even if you're still getting stuff done. The first one that I want to talk about that I really realized and took a while to stand out for me was the fact that like rest never, worked. Like rest as an idea just stopped working. Like you could never rest enough. Just like the math ain't mathing, the rest ain't resting. Like it just doesn't work anymore. Okay, you technically take breaks, you sleep, you cancel plans, you go on little trips here and there, but it doesn't actually touch the tired. It doesn't help you with the fatigue. You still come back from that rest feeling tired and honestly maybe even a little bit resentful that like the trip didn't fix everything, that the break didn't like fix you, right? Like that's kind of how I felt. I'm like, dang, I took the time off, I took the trip. Like why is this rest not working? And if we're real, maybe you're not resting to rest, but you're resting to get back to normal, which is performing still. And I think our bodies really learn that. They kind of realize that. And so the break doesn't really land because the survival mode, the survival programming is still running in the background while we're taking that break, while we're taking that rest. It's just running in the background like a noisy app. You know how your iPhone like gives you those random notifications that so and so app has been tracking your location and do you want to turn that off? That's kind of like how the survival mode has been running in the background so that the rest doesn't really feel like rest, but really our body knows, oh, you're just like trying to take a pause, but you're going to get right back to performing, to grinding, to, working. So that's the first one. Second sign you're in your late stage burnout era is there's this growing louder part of you or version of you that really just wants to ghost like everybody. Maybe move out of the country, maybe move to Portugal, right? That's on my list. Throw your phone in a body of water and just like never see it again and just exist. But you don't. You still show up to meetings, if you have a job that requires that. You still text people back. You still make your obligatory posts. You still make your obligatory posts on social media, right? On the internet. You still keep smiling through everything. And, that tension between the part of you that's just so done and the part of you that's like still pushing, that fries the nervous system over time, that push pull, because the pressure doesn't necessarily stop, but we just get better at masking it. But that doesn't mean it's not taking a toll. So that leads me into the third sign that you're in your late stage burnout area. And this one is where like every decision that you have to make feels like too much. You might trying to be making that decision around taking the trip or moving out the country altogether, but like you don't, but you still waste, a lot of energy and time fantasizing about it and thinking about it, while also thinking about how you want to achieve so much more and accomplish so much more. And also there's still like so much more real work that like has to get done. So every decision starts to feel like too much. And, it could be you're not even doing that much, but like the mental load still feels unmanageable. I know that I'm getting to that point in my life at times when like, what should I eat becomes almost like a spiral, right? Maybe you're asking yourself, like, should I respond to this text now or later? And that becomes like a full on, crisis. Or maybe you start 5 different things and you finish none of them, right? Like, okay, yes, it could be ADHD, but also, yes, it could be late stage burnout. Okay. Now, this happens because our system ultimately is just maxed out. It's just at capacity. And like when you're in that burnout stage, every decision, every choice kind of feels like high stakes, like even the small ones, because our body is treating everything like a threat ultimately. At least that's been my experience. Okay. I'm not like a burnout expert. There's a lot of people that are. I'm kind of just talking about the things that I noticed in my path, in my journey, in my experience. Now, the fourth one that really comes up for me is you feel emotionally flat, but like overstimulated at the same time, if that makes sense. Where it's like you're kind of jumpy, you're scrolling, you're thinking all of the thoughts about everything all the time, but emotionally you're numb. Like you're not sad, you're not happy, you're just here. It's like, the nervous system is screaming, but our feelings are on mute. Hopefully this is making some sort of sense. But this is like, we're shut down, like we're shut down, but the lights are still on. Yeah, that's really, what it feels like. And you might just keep telling yourself you need more caffeine. You might tell yourself that you just need to focus more, that you just need to lock in. But, what you really need is safety, and specifically safety to just exist, to just slow down, to just not have to be or do anything for a while. That's like really what it comes down to. Now, this fifth one, I've more so seen in clients and not so much myself. So it's still noteworthy, but it's like when joy starts to feel suspicious, like something is starting to finally go right and like the work is paying off. But instead of feeling good, the body is like, don't get used to this. This isn't going to last. Or even worse than that, the body's like, okay, but like, what's the catch? And that's really what happens when your baseline is survival. And that's ultimately what leads to burnout over time, right? Is being in survival mode for too long. But when your baseline is survival, joy doesn't feel safe. It feels like a setup. So you don't really let yourself fully feel it, just like you don't really let yourself fully feel anything when you're in survival mode. But what you do instead is you downplay it, you distract yourself from it, or you unconsciously sabotage it, like accidentally, sabotage that good thing. And again, like you don't do this because you're broken, but because your nervous system just hasn't really learned how to trust good things yet. Okay. Now, the sixth sign that you're in your late stage burnout era, that's what we're calling this video. I'm trying to be hip or whatever. But the sixth sign is that you really can't remember the last time you felt fully alive. And this is a hard one. I think that like this is the one that hits the hardest. At least it hits the hardest for me. Because it's like, yeah, you're doing life. Okay, you show up, you're competent, you're respected. Okay, and this is the space that I had really gotten to. Like I'm respected. I've, achieved some sort of, recognizable, respectable success on paper. And I felt, good about it inside of myself, but I didn't actually feel like lit up, if I'm being honest. I wasn't really laughing hard anymore. I never really had moments where I felt present. It was just kind of like this existential dread of like, oh my goodness, another day. Right. But at the same time, it's like I had to be on. I had to act like I was fine. I had to act like everything was really okay when, it really wasn't. And that's like the thing. Like burnout doesn't always look like some crash out or like collapse or you just everything stops. Sometimes it's like really quiet. Sometimes it's like I look like I'm doing well, but on the inside, slowly going offline, slowly kind of falling apart. And that's ultimately the reason, I wanted to make this video today, because I think that more and more of us are going through it. And I want to put some words to it. I want to put, some language to it. If maybe you've been feeling one or all six of these different things and you're like, I know something's wrong, but I don't really know what it is. Let's just call it, you're in your late stage burnout era. And I think, what's always helped me is when I can kind of put words to it and kind of recognize what's happening. It almost gives me some clarity about like, okay, like, well, now that I know what's going on, now that I have a way to articulate or put words to this thing that I've been feeling for a long time, like now that I know what it is, now we can really do something about it. So anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up here. Hopefully this was insightful or useful in some way, shape, or form to you. And my name is Sid Scott. Thanks for watching another video. I'll see you in the next one.